public. Stay at least 6 feet apart from others. And get tested. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdhec.gov/COVID-19.
Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdhec.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Good Saturday afternoon to you. I am Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by SCDHEC, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Palmetto Media Connections, and Agape Counseling and Training Center. Listen, if you're having some challenges coping with COVID, please contact Agape Counseling and Training Center. Coping with COVID is also brought to you by the Columbia Housing Authority. Well, we have all loved and lost. That's the story of all of our lives, but it's often difficult to move past the hurt to fully and freely love again. Well, today we're going to talk about a story about two people who did take the time to heal personally while giving back publicly, and there they found true love and were courageous enough to pursue it. This is a story that I know will inspire you and hopefully assure you that you can love again. Jil and Dejr Bostick are right there, and they join us today on Coping with COVID. Hello, beautiful people. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be right back with Jil and Dejr next on Coping with COVID. But first, your COVID community updates. And then there were 6 Greek houses that were shut down on the University of South Carolina campus. The Greek village is under quarantine now because of several positive cases of the virus detected. University President Robert Carlson says the school is still committed to in-person learning, but they are devising a plan just in case the school has to go to a virtual learning option. To date, U of SC has reported over 550 positive COVID cases for mostly students, but some faculty and staff. Prisma Health will allow limited patient visitation beginning September 1st. The policy will permit one designated care partner for patients during certain hours, 2 to 6 daily, more if the patient is in ER. For behavioral health patients, visitation hours are from 6 until 7 p.m. Now, the hospital says only one care partner will be allowed while the patient is hospitalized, and this goes for all of their South Carolina hospitals. And actor Chadwick Boseman passed away last night. The 43-year-old Anderson, South Carolina native had been quietly battling colon cancer the last 4 years, undergoing chemo and numerous surgeries, all in between portraying characters like Thurgood Marshall, Jackie Wilson, and notably the Black Panther. Governor McMaster has ordered flags be lowered to half staff in honor of Chadwick Boseman. SCDHEC and Prisma Health has your most up-to-date listings of times, dates, locations of COVID testing in and around South Carolina. Check the bottom of the screen for information. Also, there's the number on there for the DHEC Care Line. Contact the DHEC Care Line if you have more questions about COVID testing or if you need a ride. Also, do you want to host COVID testing in your community or at your event? The number to call at DHEC is also scrolling at the bottom of the screen. SC Thrive is still offering up to $1,500 rental assistance for for those who were affected by COVID. Go to COVID-19 rental assistance on the SC Thrive website. Dominion Energy is going to join us on Coping with COVID in just a couple of weeks. They have payment plans and payment assistance available, again, if you need that help during COVID. They said they won't call and harass you, and they will not cut off your service, but they will be glad to help you. Dominion Energy, like I said, is going to be on the show next week, not only to tell you about those payment plans and payment assistance, but also tips if you are working and schooling at home. And Mask Up Columbia SC is still giving up some great prizes. Post a picture in your favorite mask on maskupcolumbiasc.com. Get your family and friends to like and share it. And then you could win some great prizes. It's maskupcolumbiasc.com. Finally, my birthday is in September, but we are giving you the prizes. That's right. Beginning next week and throughout the month of September, we're going to give you a Coping with COVID reusable mask, 10 disposable masks, courtesy of the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities and Palmetto Media Connection, a sampler of Sabriti body butter. It's good from head to toe, but especially underneath your mask. Also, gift certificates from the European Wax Center, New York High Style, and J. Anthony Brown's going to give you a sample of some of his products, either the hot sauce or Jay's Nuts. It's my birthday, and you get the prizes. That starts next week and all month long right here on Coping with COVID. Now, don't forget that Coping with COVID is streaming live on my professional page, Tailor Made Productions. Will you please go over there, like and share it, so that not only you can watch Coping with COVID Monday through Saturday at 2 p.m., you can get all of your COVID-related updates. We're also streaming live on YouTube, so I want to say hello to everyone on YouTube. And please hit that subscribe button. Hit it, hit it, hit it. And also, you can watch all of your latest Coping with COVID episodes right there on YouTube. I'm Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping with COVID, and I am reminded of this Luther Vandross song, Love Can Be Better the Second Time Around. I think about this every time I think of this couple. Dejr was previously married, living in Columbia and in the Charlotte area, and Jil was engaged in Greenville. Both exceptional leaders in the community. Jil, Mayor Pro Tem, serving on numerous prestigious boards, and while their professional lives were flourishing, the personal side was a bit challenging. Today, we're talking to Jil and Dejr Bostick, and I said to Jil and Dejr earlier today, even though I know that's not your song, but that was the song I always thought about when I think about you guys and when I see that you post that love can be better the second time around, because we all are challenged with that. I think, we all want love, we all love love, but when we are burned by love, we are hesitant to get right back in there and love again. So thank you so much, not only for coming, but for sharing your story, Jil and Dejr.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Want to say hi to Regina Skeeter. She's watching. And Jametta Finney, Little John. She's got to be.
Hey, Mama.
Hey, Mama. Hey, guys, I am getting a little bit of a feedback. So if you can turn, I know we kind of tried to work that out earlier, but if you can turn it down just a little bit. So
still feedback?
Yeah, that sounds better. That sounds better. So let's talk about the beginning. Like I said in the intro. All right. So Jil, you were engaged twice.
Yes.
Did you think, obviously you were engaged, so you thought that was going to be it. What happened, without, getting too much into it, what happened that wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I tell anybody, I was more concerned about being a bride than being a wife.
Wow,
so
that's good.
In those first two engagements, it was all about, I have the career, so I need the husband, I need the family, and, all this other stuff. And so I allowed myself to be in relationships that really weren't where I was supposed to be. And thankfully, before I actually said I do in either of those situations, I kind of woke up and was like, yeah, this ain't it.
Yeah. How did you get the courage? Because I was talking to Mo Ivory yesterday. I know you don't. Are you familiar with Mo?
And Mo was the reason why I broke off my first engagement. She had penned a letter and talked about her piece. And Sarah, shout out to the lovely ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. And I read her letter and I was like, man, she's much more public than I am. And if she can do this, I can do this. And so she was one of the reasons why I broke off my first engagement.
Wow. And she and I were talking about that. She laughed. She said that letter is living on Google. But she had it all, great man, great job, great career, but she just, knew something in her said, this isn't right. And so you said Mo gave you the courage to do it. Were you ever concerned with what the people would say?
Yeah, I think, it was interesting because both situations were a little bit different. The first one was a little bit easier to break off. Like I said, her letter inspired me. The second time, the dress was bought, handmade lace from France, and
Wow.
the venue was booked, and all this stuff was happening. And publicly, on the outside, those that didn't know me, I think probably was like, oh, it's great. And my close friends and family, they were all like on their knees praying and having prayer circles, like, don't do it, reconsider. Like they were, all in that area. And so for me, it just kind of got to a point where I was like, look, I don't care what people say. This will not serve me.
Yeah, because you're a very public person, as I said in the intro. You're very out. Mayor pro tem on several prestigious boards in the upstate, really all throughout the state. So, to go through this publicly, because now everybody's gonna ask you 50 million questions.
Yeah. It's funny too because when you look back, right? So with Dejr and I's relationship, we've been intentionally public and posted a lot of pictures. Yeah. And while people knew I was engaged before, I was not that public, right? They knew I was engaged, but there wasn't a ton of pictures of me and my past partners. There wasn't, lots of pieces. So after that first time, I was a little scared, like, Lord, if I put this out here and this don't work, what are people going to think? So I kind of stopped. But with Dejr and I, it's like, look, I want the world to see what we have. I don't have any doubt about what the next step is going to be, or if for some reason it didn't work out. The only reason it won't is because we go on to see the Lord. Right. But other than that, with those other relationships, I guess there was a part of me that knew it wasn't right, and so I didn't want to showcase it.
Yeah. Now, Dejr, you've been married before. And again, without really kind of going into it, again, I think we go into relationships thinking this is going to be it. But you also went through some personal growth, which kind of led you to recognize, maybe I've outgrown this situation.
I think for me, in my marriage, my first marriage, is that I was not mentally prepared to be the man that was needed for that marriage at that time. So there was a lot of developing and a lot of healing that needed to take place so that I could be who I am today. And I didn't understand it then. And I tell men all the time, you can be in an amazing relationship, but if you're not mentally prepared, if you're not able to understand the sheer brevity of what marriage really means, then you'll have a great opportunity and you'll mess it up every time. So I know for me that I needed to grow in some areas to be able to understand what it means to really be that husband and to really have a great and a thriving marriage. So for me, it was me stepping away and saying, I'm not who I need to be yet, and taking that time to really heal in certain areas so that I could be who I am today. Yeah.
We're talking to Jil and Dejr Littlejohn. Jolita Littlejohn has Lil John Bostick. Jolita Littlejohn has joined us. Hey, Jolita, thank you so much. Please continue to post and share this information out so we can get this message to the masses, because this is such a beautiful story about learning how to love again. And Dejr, you made such a great point that you recognized that you were not where you needed to be. And I think that's huge, to take a look at ourselves and not say it's the other person's fault. Right. Maybe I need to check myself.
Right. I think, like they say, when you're pointing at one person, there's 3 or 4 fingers pointing back at you. And I think in order to become just your best self, that you have to introspectively go within and say, okay, what are areas in my life? What did I do? Or what could I have done better to become just a better man, a better husband? And at that time, being young, I wasn't prepared because I really didn't see the example. So I had to really become the example. I had to go back and, like I said, do the work and deal with past traumas and things like that, so that when love was introduced again, I wasn't like, okay, well, how am I going to do this one? I was very sure on who I needed to be the husband that she needs.
Now, I know that you have an initiative called Black Men Meditate. Did that have anything to do with your maturation process?
Most definitely, most definitely. Black Men Meditate was a product after the healing. Because I had to really do the work to see exactly, okay, what are those areas in your life that needs to change? Okay, what are those disciplines that you need to foster in your life to make you be a better person? So as I began to get more quiet, more still, then I was truly able to become who I am today. And I think for me, that was big. The moments that I'm able to be quiet and be still, then I'm able to close out all the noise and the distractions. And I'm able to say, okay, what are those areas in my life that I need to change? And the stillness and the quietness allowed me to say, okay, these are areas that need improvement, and areas in your life that can make you really be a better person. So the more stiller and the more quiet I became, the more I was aware of who I was, those past actions, those past traumas, and I'm able to deal with them from that standpoint.
I want to stay there for a minute, Dejr, Jill, if you don't mind, because, you know, our Black men, quite frankly, are going through so much always, but particularly right now. So how do you move through that, Dejr? You know, can you share with us kind of how you move through the one healing of your past when sometimes you don't even know how to rectify or how to come to terms with? Sometimes you don't even know what it is. You just know something's going on. I don't even know what it is, though. So can you share with men how to kind of be honest with yourself enough to recognize there's a problem, and recognize, let me do something about it, and then 3, what do you do?
Right. So for me, I think it was the beginning of last year that really was the spark that showed that, okay, there's some areas that needed to change. So I got really still, and I started looking at examples of what I desired. And one of the things that I knew, Trey, is that 2020, not knowing what all was going to transpire,
right
20 would require a different version of me, that I had to move in excellence, I had to move in integrity and move in character, and being still, I had to see examples of it. So really going within, I was able to hear what they call the still small voice.
Yes.
I became very aware. I became aware of my actions. I became aware of my behaviors and habits. A lot of times people talk about 21 days, but it actually takes 66 days to form a new habit, a new pattern. So I put that to the test. I said, okay, these are areas in my life that I want to change. So as I got down in meditative positions and I just got really quiet and still, I started being able to go back and look at areas. Okay, these are areas that there were the trigger points. So these were things that, okay, yeah, you cut down the tree, but there's still a root. Let's get to the root situation. I begin to dive deeper into, okay, well, where do these patterns and these habits come from? I was able to say, okay, these are areas that I really needed to change. So the more stiller, the more quiet I got, the more I was, and it didn't feel good. I'm gonna tell you right now, feel good. But the thing about it, you are able to see later on, just through the matriculation and time, that you're able to see yourself become just better and better. And I knew when I met her, I knew there was still work to be done, but I knew I was so far along than where I was at, and I was able to appreciate the love that she was giving to me.
Yeah. So Jill, tell us about your healing process. Again, 2 engagements that you called off, a very public person. So where did you find time in everything that you did? Because here's the thing. Sometimes we can mask what we need to do by staying busy with career, with our goals, with public service. Well, how did you know, okay, I've got to pump the brakes a little bit and spend some time taking care of me?
Right. So, you know, the 2 engagements were, I mean, the last engagement was probably a year or more before Dejr and I actually got serious. We had been friends, but, you know, before we got serious. But I always tell people I believe in therapy.
Me too.
I was really sad when my therapist fired me. I didn't know they could do that. Like, I was like really sad. She's like, we don't even have anything to work on, you know. And I'm like, what do you mean?
You're cured.
Yeah. She's like, I'm always here for you if you need me. But, you know, I really went through an intensive therapy process, and this wasn't the first therapist that I had. You know, I had maybe 2 or 3 before then, and never really connected or gelled, wasn't able to do the work that I needed to do to focus on me. And then when I got with my last therapist, I mean, she was a real down to earth, like wouldn't allow me to finesse her and talk about stuff. And, you know, she was like, no, we're going to go back to that. I had to look into some things from my childhood, right? You know, I have, you know, a childhood that is filled with some trauma. And I realized that in my relationships, because of the relationships that I had with my parents, who I love, rest in peace to my father, and I love my mom who's on, but you know, we weren't perfect. So there was substance abuse, there was alcoholism that was in my past. And so as a child, I was taught to always see the good in people, because I knew with the example of my parents that regardless of what happened, they loved me, they cared for me, and they always made it right. So I took that into my relationships with men, that they might not have it all together, but I'm going to see the good. Or as one of my friends always say, I saw the potential. So I was always focused on the potential versus on the right now. And so, you know, as Dejr said, like, did he have everything together? Like, hey, we don't have it all together now. Let's be crystal clear, right? But he had done the work. So for me, I had to stop trying to find happiness in someone else or allow those relationships to fill this gap or to complete this picture, because the picture was complete. I am the whole package. I didn't need anyone to make me whole. I am whole. And so it was really important that he had done the work, I had done the work, so that we could be two whole people becoming one instead of two half people trying to make one. And so therapy was really important to me, being real and being honest, so that when we met, I was able to say, here's what I like, here's what I don't like, here's what I'm gonna do, here's what I'm not gonna do, and be okay with that, and not feel like, well, if he likes that, let me just kind of change myself to make that work. And so I was able to say, this is me, take it or leave it. That's right. And he was like, I love it. And I was like, oh, you love it. You know, so that was really crucial for my healing and the ability to move into a new relationship.
Yeah, that's so good, Jill, because you're right. You know, we oftentimes want to be what somebody wants us to be so that we can fit into their idea of not only what they need, but what they need us to be for them, and totally ignore what we need for ourselves. And that's never going to be a recipe for success, ever. But if we are always, as women are oftentimes, and I'll even say women of color, because that's all I've ever been, you know, is, you know, we're trying to cross our I's and dot our T's, or dot our T's and cross our I's before a time. We've got to get married at a certain time. We've got to have a child at a certain time. And then we look around, and as you say, all your sorority sisters, all your friends are doing all this, and then your family looking at you side eye like, why aren't you yet? You know? Yeah. We're so busy trying to please everyone else. What we need and want gets lost in all of that.
Yeah, and I think you make a really good point too. You know, message to the parents, the family, the friends. Stop asking your friends about what they're gonna do, when they're gonna get married, when they're gonna have a baby, when they gonna. You know, it's like one thing, and then they want to ask questions about the next thing. Listen, go with the flow. Celebrate people where they are, so they don't have to feel like they have to get to the next stage. And I think, you know, we're all guilty of it, me included. Like, oh, you got married, you have a baby. Oh, I want to get married. Let's enjoy people where they are. We put pressure on people. Then for those of us, because I am definitely a people pleaser, then we feel like we got to please the people, you know? So I think that it's also a message to the individual that's trying to date or be in a relationship, but it's also a message to the friends and family to stop adding on additional pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys were doing the work separately. And then how did you meet? And you met and you end up being friends. How did you meet?
Okay, I'll tell you. It's so amazing that of course, my beautiful wife is a lady, a diva of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and I'm Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Yes. So a good friend of mine, and I don't know if we can do names, but I'm gonna do it anyway. A good friend of mine, Kim Super, said, "Hey, you need to join this group." And we were doing some work on a board for the National Kidney Foundation in South Carolina. She was like, pretty cool. So we'll be in this group, and we talked about everything, wealth, health, everything. And I think one day I had posted, I was like, yeah, they were like, what are y'all doing today? I said, well, I'm going up to this church in Greenville, South Carolina. And I remember Jill responded saying, well, I'm I'm at a church in Green. Which one are you going to? And ended up being the very same church.
Wow.
So she came out of the lobby and we met for the first time. And
hold on.
Go ahead.
What he didn't say is that he said in my DM. He likes to leave that part out, right? He's like, yeah, so we just had a conversation. No, we were in the large chat talking. And then I was like, oh, I'm at the church. And he was like, hey, I'm at the church.
So
but at that time, Dejr, at that moment, were you looking at Jill in another way other than friendship?
No, because I knew at that time I wanted to know who that person was.
Right.
So often when you first meet a person, they're putting up their facade. They were like, hey, I want to be this, this, and this. So I knew that. So I knew that by meeting, I was like, okay, she's a good looking woman, but my mind wasn't there at that moment.
Okay.
So okay, cool.
And hold on a minute, Dejr. Were you, Jill? Were you think, okay.
No. I mean, I was at church. I mean, kind of like praise the Lord. But it was more of, we've been in this chat group. Everybody's been commenting. Like, oh, he's in Greenville. I was like, oh, I'm there. Like, oh, I'm in the lobby. Like, hey, but it wasn't like, oh, he's in the lobby. Let me go see him.
Just totally platonic. Right.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. For sure. And what's really cool is we actually have a picture of the very first day we met.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, we've got a couple of pictures. I don't think all of these other pictures you can tell that you guys are far into the relationship, dressing alike and everything. You're one of those couples.
I know. I never thought I would be that couple.
Like, oh my God, they're really dressing alike right now.
And let me tell you, Trey, I've become a sharer. I never shared. So when it's time to eat and stuff like that, she'll be like, well, let's just get one and then I'll be like, okay, I'm cool with that. So that made it just awesome. So just from our initial meeting, I knew that she was just definitely a professional. I knew she was someone that was very caring and really cared about our community. So for me, I think that was the thing that drew me. I was like, oh, I said, she's just somebody good to know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So you eat in church. Do you eat afterwards, or does the conversation continue? No. Okay. The benediction, and then y'all went your ways.
Yeah.
Went our way for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was, a couple years ago that we met. So we met in church. Took the picture because we wanted to show everybody in the chat that hey, we're together.
Yeah.
And then we just stayed in the chat, kind of commenting and talking about different stuff, being silly. But then, when a topic would come up, let's say about business, and I'd be like, hey, I got a question. So I slide in his DM.
Yeah.
Hey, can you do this? And then when, political stuff would come up, he would ask me questions, what's going on with that? So I think probably after maybe a year or two, we exchanged phone numbers and just kind of really just started building a friendship. And he would tell me about people he was dating. I would tell him about people I was dating. Yeah. We give each other advice.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
And what was so amazing about it, Trey, is that we literally became best friends.
Yes.
And it was like, I know that I can reach out, I can talk to you about anything, not knowing that at that time that was really the recipe, one of the recipes for a thriving relationship, a thriving marriage. That when people used to say, okay, well, I'm marrying my best friend, I'm with my best friend, I couldn't per se identify with that because I know I wasn't completely who I needed to be or completely who I desired to be at that time. So it was almost like having a facade. But when I became my authentic self, I was able to fully appreciate, like, you are my best friend. You know what I mean? So it's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So at this point, you guys you've met, your church, you're really getting to know each other, you're friends. I read, Jill, your post when it was Dejr's birthday, and you said you remembered when you called him or texted him to wish him a happy birthday, and you recognized at that point that you were feeling something different.
Yeah. So it's interesting. We I know you have a break, so it's a little bit longer.
Yeah. It's a long story. Okay, well, we'll come back. Okay. So we've walked Dejr and Jill up to their breakups, to their healing, to their friendship. And when we come back, we'll talk about the moment in which Jil and Dejr realized that this was more than just friendship. And then we'll talk about how they continue to love and infiltrate, just mix leadership and just building not only their relationships, but the relationships with others when we come right back and talk about leadership and love with Jil and Dejr Bostick. That's next on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor.
Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Hey there, you are watching Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor. I'm Tre Tailor, and thank you so much for joining us. Please continue to post and share this message out so we can get this message to the masses. We're talking to Jil and Dejr Bostick. Want to say hi to Linda Taylor, who says, great show. Thank you, Linda, so much for watching. Please share, because I know you know some folks, a lot of people are so skeptical about delving back into love. But love is such a beautiful thing, but it can be painful. Want to say hi also to Liz Dale. What's her last name, Jil? Corey Bisky? Do you know?
I just always say Liz.
Hey, Liz. We'll go with Liz. Looks like Corey Bisky, but I don't want to mess it up. So thank you so much. All right. So we heard how you guys, worked to heal your own relationships, continue to do work in the community. You met. And then at some point, when it was Dejr's birthday, you realized, Jil, that you felt something more.
So I think it kind of was a series, right? Okay. So, my birthday was in May. I took this big trip to Turks and Caicos with all my friends, and Dejr FaceTimed me to say happy birthday. And I'm like, oh, happy birthday. And my friend's like, who is that? And I'm like, oh, this is Dejr. They're like, you need to be paying attention. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So
they said you need to be paying attention because what? He's attractive. We know that y'all are friends.
He's FaceTiming you and saying happy birthday. Y'all are laughing and joking. Are you sure y'all are just friends? And I'm like, yeah, we're just, whatever. Yeah. I think he's trying to be the bros. I don't know what he got going on.
No, that's right, girl.
I'm like, I'm good. But they could kind of see the chemistry. Right. So then in June, God, it's so funny to say that. In June of last year, wow, I got invited to do a presidential debate down in Charleston, and I was like all weekend event. I didn't really want to go by myself. I'm like, man, who can I call that can go, that I'll have a good time and not have to babysit and they can do their own. So I was like, hey, what you doing? You want to go? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll go. So, long story short, we went down to Charleston. We had an amazing time. Like literally, we laughed, we joked, we went into a room, separated, network, came back together. And everywhere we went that weekend, whether it was at the event, walking through downtown Charleston, meeting random people on the street, they're like, you guys are such a great couple. Yeah. And we were like, let's just kind of smile and and do that. And then, when we were, oh yeah, that was funny. So because the reservation was in my name, every time we walk out, they'd be like, "Hi, Mr. Littlejohn, can I get your car?" and he would just be like, "Yeah, I'm Mr. Littlejohn." But there wasn't any intimidation. Like, he was cool with it. Like, I've been in previous situations where there was jealousy, or they want to make sure that they know that they're the man.
Because you're a big personality, Jill. You're a big personality, and you do a lot in the community. I mean, you're Jill Littlejohn. You know what I mean? And Dejr, for a man, that can be intimidating. Mm-hmm. I think as women, we're used to the man being Mr. Littlejohn. You know what I
mean? Right. So what was so awesome as well, just to add to it that weekend, is that because I'd done the work, I was very confident in who I was as a man. That it was no tug of war. Mm-mm. Like we always say, we flow. So being able to be in a room, and I didn't have to be up under, because moving in those spaces, I was like, hey, this is where I thrive at, So being able to do that and then come back together, there was no intimidation, because I know who I was, I know who she is, and I honored her for her role and who she was in her various settings. So I think that became the major difference that really made me start looking like, hey, we showed out this weekend. You know what I mean? There's more to this. And I always knew that I find her attractive, and I was attracted to her. It added more than just the physical. Yeah. It started, man, our energy. When we came together, people were like, man, who are they? So it was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing.
And I think, when we were driving back, to separate our cars, we were like, I wonder if we could, be serious. We both were like, "Well, you serious?"
Was it an actual conversation, Jill? Was it actually okay?
Yeah, I mean, it was an actual conversation where we were like, I wonder if we should take it to the next level. And we were both concerned about our friendship. Yes. Because we wanted to make sure, we enjoyed being friends. And so we didn't want to mess anything up, right? And so I remember that was in June, and we were like, look, I'm like, I know you dating other people. I'm dating other people. Let's keep dating other people. Like, be together, right? I don't want to just be like, yeah, let's see what's happening. Like, you continue to date other people, I continue to date other people, but let's start moving in that direction, right?
Yeah.
So that's like June, July. We're hanging out more. We're spending time. He's coming to Charlotte. I mean, I'm going to Charlotte. He's coming to Greenville. We're doing all this stuff, and I never forget. I think it was like August. August. So we had passed his birthday, celebrated all that stuff, and I think I was in New York, and he had all this stuff planned and doing stuff with other people, and I'm doing stuff, and I'm like, okay. I was kind of feeling like,
right.
Yeah.
Like, I guess. Yeah. But still, like, I'm still enjoying it. Don't want to mess up anything. And then he called me and was like, look, I'm ready. Like, I don't want us to see other people. And I was like, are you sure? Yeah. And he's like, are you sure? And we both had this thing, like, you better not mess up. Like, if you mess up my flow. Like,
that's right. Because we good right here now. Yeah.
I said, you gonna owe me some numbers now. And then, if I delete these books now, you gonna owe me some numbers now.
And so we were like, yeah, let's do it. And that was August, and we haven't looked back.
Yeah. I mean, so in August you made it, and this was last August.
Yeah.
Last August, you made it official. You guys were dating. And then did you talk about the engagement, or were you totally surprised?
So actually, I want to go back one little piece too, because I think this is really important when you talk about friendship and getting to the true relationship. Right. My mom was actually diagnosed with cancer last year. And during that time, I guess she got diagnosed in maybe March, April. I had just started a new job. We were already friends at that point. And she ended up having to go into the hospital and ended up being in the hospital for 3.5 weeks. And Dejr would come and drive from Charlotte and spend, 1 or 2 days with me, literally just in the hospital at my mom's side, making sure I was good, making sure my mom, needed anything. And my mom, I think it was 4th of July. Yeah. We were going out. We were doing like a staycation here in Greenville because we didn't want to be far. And she said, "And you take care of my baby." And he said, I'm going to take care of her. Don't you worry. And when we often look back about our relationship, you know, he said, listen, mama told me to take care of you. And I took that to heart. Like,
right.
You know, July 4th of 2019, he's like, you know, I knew I would take care of you, period.
Right. Because this was before you officially said we're going to be together. Yeah.
Yes.
And for me, I knew there were things that had to transpire apart from my norm. Remember when we, with the phone, I knew that she had been in relationships where individuals would hide or they would be texting other people. So one of the things that I did was I grabbed my phone and I unlocked it. And it has always stayed unlocked. She's always had the password because I wanted her to feel comfortable knowing that, guess what? I don't care about your past. I want to create a new and a better future for you.
Yeah.
Transparency, hear me. We can talk about anything. So it's about transparency and it's about exactly what we both needed at that time. And that was a step for me because I never felt that I could trust anybody to the point that I was able to be 100% transparent. So for me to be able to do that, I think that's what really catapulted what we have now.
Yeah, that's so big, Dejr, because you didn't have to do that, you know, because really that was Jill's stuff. That wasn't your stuff. You know what I mean? But that's the thing I think about love is that you took her feelings into consideration enough to take that extra step and go out of your comfort zone and just say, listen, you need this. And she didn't ask you for it, but you knew, she needed it. So you did it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, you know, you talk about, you know, did we talk about marriage? I think, you know, we got to a point where we were like, okay, this is good. You know, August, September, October, November, like everything is still flowing. We took multiple trips, been around his friends, been around my friends, and, you know, things are going good. And I think, you know, once he made the decision to move to Greenville, it was like, oh, okay, like we get serious, and we're like, okay, like if we can actually together, then, you know, this might be it. And, you know, we talked about marriage, but when he proposed, like I didn't have
no idea.
Yeah, no.
He
kept telling me he's gonna do it in May.
That's right. When I tell you no idea, and I was so good about planting certain seeds of thoughts in her mind. I was like, well, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I said, what do you think? Maybe we get engaged, maybe May or June. And she was like, no, baby, you're not supposed to tell me. She said, but I'm with it. So she's already been thinking afar off. Behind the scenes, I had a group of some of her amazing friends. I'm not going to name them all, but y'all know who you are. And I said, this is what I want to do. And they said, okay. But let me tell you this, her friends, before I got to anything, they said, well, we need to talk to you first. And they ran the letter. They were like, make sure this is not a hero complex. I mean, they ran it down like, do you? And they said, we know now that you really love her. Like you really love her. So we started the process. So I know she was from Atlanta. And I know I wanted to do something in her city because, of course, family and friends. And this was grounding. A grounding place. And I know I wanted to do it big because, of course, that's Jill Littlejohn. I know I wanted to do it big. So we reached out to the Fox Theater, the historic Fox Theater in Atlanta. And I said, well, what would it take to put an engagement up there? They said, whoa, I don't think we've ever done that before, but I think we can make something happen. So it was amazing just leading up to it and just seeing her be oblivious because she thought we were going to meet some of my clients in Atlanta. And like, okay, I was like, well, babe, I'm telling you right now, they got the Atlanta energy. So, you know, you got to come with your A1, makeup, hair, everything. And she was like, oh, you know, I'm for that. So she looked absolutely breathtaking. And I remember walking up, and I can tell the full story. I'll give us some more. But she ended up walking up there, not knowing that all her family and friends were literally in the hotel
Right.
I had a saxophonist that came and he was playing our favorite song. And I was like, hey, do you know this song? He was like, I think I can play it. And the videographer was out there. And I remember us walking up front because we didn't know when the people were supposed to come out.
We
walk up to the very top and we sit there and we're pausing. And then all of a sudden I see her face like I saw a ghost because my back was against the sign across the street and it popped up, Giovanni, will you marry me? And she said,
Oh, I couldn't find that picture. I was looking
I see people in the comments like, let's see pictures. You can go to our Facebook page.
Yes. Yeah,
love
I've
that.
been showing some pictures, but I couldn't find that picture. Yeah, I couldn't find that particular picture. Yeah.
man, and her mom came out representing with the red rose, representing her father, because I wanted him to be there, even spiritually. I wanted him to be there, or his essence to be there. And she didn't know anything. All of our very close friends were there, and just to see her, and I'll never forget that day. And I said, you gave me a reason to not look any further. You know what I mean? Because so often I was looking, what's the next? But being with Jill, it made me say, you don't need to look any further. And I knew it in my soul that you were made for me. And we talked about earlier how the things that might have gotten on individuals' nerve, she loved it in the same way. She was like, and then I got to tell this story. We're holding hands. I'm a very affectionate person. I remember holding hands when she got ready. Like, I said, why are you getting ready? She's like, I've always been with individuals that said, okay, that's enough of all that, and let her hand go. And I said, no, I love this. I mean, this is the delicious relationship. So it was amazing to know that who I've always been from that aspect was exactly what she wanted and needed. And that's what made it absolutely amazing.
Wow.
Absolutely amazing.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Jill, so you were totally shocked.
Yeah. I mean, I just, like I said, he kind of, like one friend was like, kind of said something, but she's like, oh, I think that's going to be in May or yada, yada, yada. So I was like, all right. And so, as we're getting ready to go, I thought we were going to see a client, but he wanted to walk the long way. I was like, why not on red bottoms? I can't be walking up this hill. Good Uber can drop us off right here. And he was like, I want to see the skyline. I was like, all right, whatever. But I was just enjoying the moment. One thing that Dejr brings to me is balance and calmness. He has the ability to have me stop being, this, A personality. Go, make it happen. To say, just live in the moment. Live in the moment. Be okay with living in the moment. And that's something that he has brought to my life that I didn't really have as much before. And so even as we're walking to the engagement, I'm like, you know what? This is my city. Like, I'm back home. I'm with this man that I love, so all these stuff going through. And when it did pop up and, it said, will you marry me? It's playing Jodeci all my life. I prayed for someone like you, At that point, I'm like Niagara Falls. I'm just bawling, crying, the ugly cry, and as the family and friends are walking out, I'm like, oh, it's my mom, it's my aunt, it's my friend, it's my best friends, all these people, friends from Greenville, friends in Atlanta, friends from, all these different places. And so I was just kind of like, I cannot believe this is happening to me, for me, with the man that I love at just the right time. And then he had an engagement party planned for it afterwards. So we left there and he had like a dinner plan with pictures of us during the time that we've been dating, a picture of my dad when I walked in. And I was just like, okay, this is what it should feel like. This is something I haven't had before.
Right. And it was, and the wedding was beautiful. We're looking at some pictures here. I want to talk a little bit about the picture on the bottom, Dejr, because, and I saw the video and I'm about to cry when Jill came up behind you. First of all, I want to know who planned that. How did that happen that you guys decided that Dejr's back would be to you, Jill, and you would walk up behind him and then he would turn and look at you for the first time?
Yeah, so we used Jeremiah Photography for our photography, and he gave us instructions like, just go to the rooftop. We were at the rooftop of the Westin Poinsett, and they're like, Dejr's just going to be face, and you're going to go and tap him on the shoulder. So it was our photographer and videography team that kind of put that together to have us walk. And, I'm getting nervous, like I'm walking. I'm like, oh my God, there he is.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you saw me before I saw you. So I didn't see her. So I'm standing up there and they're like, okay, well, we're getting ready to bring her out. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, all right, good. I'm good on this. And I could hear her because she was like, I'm coming. And I was like, oh. So it was, at that moment, it was so amazing because I felt like this was exactly the right moment in time, that I'm exactly where I needed to be, and I'm exactly who I needed to be for that moment, to appreciate it. And I think that was the biggest thing. But yeah.
And you cried when you turned and saw her. You cried.
Yes.
What was going through your mind at that time, Deja?
It's so amazing, Trey, because I see videos of people crying. I'm like, man, what they crying for? Man, you already know who she is. But to know that day that y'all were really becoming one. It was a myriad of so many emotions. I knew that you're getting ready to marry your best friend, and then she was absolutely beautiful. And I think in my crying, she'll tell you, I was like, you're just so beautiful. but it goes a little better than that because we had to do it twice.
Well, actually, that day, he cried every time he saw me, right? We do the first tap. I tap him on the shoulder. He's like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. And he's crying. That makes me cry. And so then they say, all right, we need to do kind of like a faux shot for the drone. So I said, perfect. So they said, all you're going to do is just, Deja, you turn around, Jill, you tap on the shoulder. We're going to do it again. So, I'm like, all right, cool. Let me tap him on the shoulder. I tap him on the shoulder. He turns around. He starts crying all over again. And I said, babe, you already saw me. He said, I know. It looks so beautiful. Yeah. So then when we're walking down the aisle, at that point, I'm like, all right, we've seen each other. We've cried. It's going to be great. Like, this is going to be a fun time. And literally, they opened the doors of the ballroom. And I started walking down. And his head just drops. And then he's like, and I was like, oh, he's crying again. And then that made me I was like, don't cry, I want to mess up my makeup. Just to know that a man loves me that much, that he doesn't care what the world thinks, that, like, he's like, I love you, and I'm so overtaken with emotion that I'm going to allow it to flow. And so that was just a great moment.
It was beautiful. And when anybody asks me, why are you crying? And I can always sum it up as this, that I finally became the man I always wanted to be.
Right.
Work, you know what I mean? Even the emotion right now that I feel that, like you had some rough places, you've done some things, but at this moment in time, you are a different version than you were before. So I was able to appreciate the moment, that it was a divine moment. Like we were literally meant for each other. And I know that in my soul. So I think that's what made the relationship in our marriage, in that wedding day, so much more beautiful because everybody was their authentic self. And that's what I think our marriage and our relationship and our friendship and all of the good stuff is that whenever we're in rooms, people have to be their authentic self, and we bring that out of them. And I think that's what makes what we have amazing.
Yeah. Tiffany Cannon Warnock says they are the sweetest couple. Love it. Mitchell Peace Joy Jen said, praise the Lord. Kimberly Hicks says, this is so beautiful. I love your love. She said she's waiting for hers. And you know what, Kim? I wanted to share their story because people are waiting, but you've got to, I think you got to do the work because Deja, listening to you talk, don't you think that had you missed the steps, both of you, of doing the work you needed to do for you, you would not have gotten here?
Nope, not at all.
You got to do the work first.
Because what is so amazing, when you don't do the work, you go about the emotions. And I can say this, the facade, you look the part, you act the part, but deep down inside, you know that there's certain things that you're still wrestling with and you're still bad. Before time brings out the true version of who you are. So before long, we would have been at each other's throat because, I did something and she would have looked at it a different way, but she's able to move with a level of compassion and nurturing. And so am I. I'm able to receive the love that she has and that she's giving off and not think, well, what's your angle behind this? You know what I mean? But I'm now able to say, give me all of that. So the work is so important to becoming your best self. So now she's not worried about, well, who you going to be today? Right. I'm not worried about who you going to be today. I know who you are. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
You know who you are. And you
Yeah.
know who you are.
Yeah.
So you're able to deal with whatever she's got going on because you're confident in you. And you too, Jill.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, we laughed. We were talking about something like at first, it took us a while to kind of have like a little minor argument or whatever.
Yes.
But, you know, when we do have arguments or, you know, do anything, we're like, all right, I don't want to be mad no more. I miss my best friend.
Yes.
Like,
Oh, I'll never forget that time. We were arguing about something crazy, and then she jumps on the little Peloton and takes off, and I hear in the other room just so it was so funny because she had to bring the Peloton out, and the Peloton's big, so she had she's looking at me. I'm like, don't leave it out. So she brings it out. She go in there, and it just hit me. This statement that really rang in my mind. It said, "Would you hurt you?" And that was so pivotal for me. Like, if she is a part of you, would you hurt you? So I remember going there and saying, I don't want to be mad no more. You know what I mean? And we're able to embrace each other. But it's those moments. It's not always going to be perfect. But one of the things that we do really good at, we talk, we communicate, and we do our 90-day check-in.
Yeah.
Every 90 days, we check in. Well, how you feeling?
Yeah.
What can I do better? Or what am I not doing? Because so often you go months and years and nobody says anything, and all of a sudden you blow up, and now I don't want to be with you no more.
Right.
Like, what happened? So communication is so key to I say a delicious marriage.
So what do you say? What do you say to those people who have lost love and are looking for love? Because there are more single people in the world than there are married people.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about this. I wish I could have a conversation with myself. Me now could have a conversation with me 2 years ago, or, you know, 3 years ago, or 10 years ago. You know, to anybody that's out there that's waiting for love, that's looking for love, one, don't lower your standards. Don't feel like you have to settle or make something fit into a box. No, your partner does not have to be perfect, because there are no perfect people.
Right.
Make sure that you do the work to know who you are, to know what you enjoy. When I was going through therapy, I remember one of the questions was, what do you like to do? You know, what do you like to do? If money wasn't an option, if nothing with anybody else, like, what do you like to eat? What things make you happy? And so I really had to stop and think about all the things that make me happy, all the things that I want to do. And some of those things I just started doing, right? I don't have to wait on somebody else to come and make that happen. So to those of you that are single, take the time to focus on you. And I used to hate it. Lord, I used to hate when people said that. I was like, you focus on you. But it's true. Find the things that you enjoy. Find the things that you like. Start doing those things that you can do, and make sure that you are preparing your life and your environment to invite somebody in. I remember somebody told me, like, if somebody was to come, do you have space for them in your life?
Mm-hmm. And that's not just physical space, that's emotional space.
Absolutely. So, you know, do the work to work on you, focus on you, enjoy your life. Don't put it on pause, because the person that's supposed to be with you will come at just the right time, and the puzzle pieces will fit, and it will feel right, and you'll feel the love, and you'll feel the emotion, and you'll realize and understand that they are the reason why everything else didn't work.
Right. We're going to wrap up the conversation with Jil and Dejr Bostick. We're going to get some final words from them, play a little bit of their wedding song. We were playing it a little bit when we posted the wedding pictures. But when we come back, we're going to play their song. Maybe they'll even dance for us. And then we're going to get some. She gave me the side eye. Did y'all see that?
Oh, yeah, that's what we do.
And then we're going to get some final words from them. You've been watching Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor. And hey, don't forget, if you have a story that you want to share that could help someone cope with COVID, please go to the Tailor Made Productions page on Facebook and inbox me, and let's see how we can get you on Coping with COVID. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtretailor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor, just like the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, SCDHEC, In It Together, Palmetto Media Connections, and Agape Counseling and Training Center. Now, don't forget on Monday, it's Fun Day Monday with J. Anthony Brown. We don't know what he's going to do or who he's going to bring, but it's always going to be big fun. Also, Tuesday, Mignon Clyburn talks about how digital divides really affect the African-American community. And then a local filmmaker talks about his groundbreaking new film, The Son of a Preacher Man. Wellness Wednesday with In It Together, we'll talk about childhood obesity and yoga for you and the kids. And then Thursday, the first ever drive-through state fair. And if you didn't get the right amount on your stimulus check, Kadena Javis joins us to tell us exactly what to do. And then Faith Friday with Minister Tony G from WFMV, the gospel station in Columbia, South Carolina. All that and so much more coming up next week on Coping with COVID. But right now, we're going to hear a little bit of Jil and Dejr's song. This is You Move by John Legend. And this is the song that they kind of sang to each other and played during the wedding. And can you just share with us some final words?
Man, trust the process, that every situation leads you to something greater. It's just understanding, being intentional about what you desire to be, who you desire to be, what you desire to do, and be intentional to make every movement that you make toward that goal. And man, I'm telling you, life gets better. You're able to see life through different lenses and from a different vantage point.
Yep. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, we all lost a great figure, Chadwick Boseman, who's a South Carolina native. And so I have on my African print today, Wakanda Forever. Yes. But more importantly, while all love is beautiful, I know Black love is even more beautiful. And so if that is something that you desire, something that you yearn for, take the time, focus on you, be patient. You can also follow us on Facebook at Leadership and Love Now, where we have different tips and different principles that we share. So
that is great, Jil and Dejr Bostick. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and share your beautiful story. It's such an amazing inspiration to everyone, and you keep preaching and teaching and showing us what leadership and love looks like, because I think we all have a part, and you're doing your part. And if we all do our part, I mean, the world can be what the Creator intends it for it to be. So I'm just overwhelmed. I'm almost speechless. So thank you guys so much. I love you both so much, and take care. God bless. I don't know how to do that. I don't do a good heart. Jil and Dejr Bostick, y'all, on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. Until the next time, I wish you peace, abundant blessings, be safe, and don't forget to wear your mask. I'm going to dance even if you won't dance.
Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdhec.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers, helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.